Thank you for joining me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode number 233, Learning Curves. Anyone who's been a teacher, probably most people who've been a junior high school student or higher, understands the learning curve. That's where you take the very lowest grade in the class and the very highest grade in the class and put it onto a bell curve so that the greatest number of students who got an average grade are going to get a C. And you put everyone else along that. So the lowest grade is an F and the highest grade is an A. Even if that highest grade is an 88%, there are reasons for using curves. Sometimes when you've given a really difficult examination and people did poorly and you take responsibility as a teacher, maybe I didn't teach this as well as I should have. Maybe I didn't really help the kids understand this as well as they needed to. And so you go on to a learning curve and you put the kids there. Another concept of a learning curve is knowing that no one is going to start out after the first time you teach it to them being at 100% competency. In other words, it is going to take them some time to start to develop and grasp the concept. They're going to hit at the median range where they kind of sort of know it or grasp it. Then they just start to develop a stronger mastery of it, and they get to the point where they have complete mastery, where 95 to 100% of the time they're right there with it. They know the material, they can do what they're supposed to do, so they have gained mastery. That learning curve is the process in which they are gaining knowledge or competency in a specific area. Your kid, your child, that young person in your world, they are going to have a lot of time on various learning curves. And so you've got to learn how to move with the curves. I'm going to use that language because some people aren't very flexible. They are an all or nothing person. If you can't do it and you can't do it very well, what's the point anyway? Just quit. I've known students like that. I've certainly known parents like that. And every single one of us as parents have got to start to develop a more realistic attitude toward what our children are capable of learning and even developing some sense of what normalcy is. All right, so one of the first learning curves that our kids are going to face is verbalization of words. They don't all do it the same. They don't all do it equally well. I keep running into this thing online about people should break down the language of baby talk. Well, it's absurd because babies are just vocalizing sounds. They repeat them, they move their tongue around inside of their mouth, and certain things come out. Parents keep repeating what they think the child's supposed to say, so that's often dada or mama, or in other cultures it might be baba, but some version of this that they want to hear a child vocalize. Honestly, for quite some time, somewhere between 6 and 18 months, none of those vocalizations make a lot of sense to a baby. They're just vocalizing sounds, and uh, honestly, they don't necessarily have meaning. So I thought that was hilarious. But I did walk down the church steps one day. There was a toddler just going on and on and on to his mom. That little boy was probably 17, 18 months old. She said, I have no idea what you're saying. Well, I told her what he said, and she looked at me so funny, and I said, yeah, I do speak toddler, and it's the truth. I speak it extremely well. Oftentimes, a 16 to 25, 26-month-old will talk to me, and their own parents may or may not always understand what they're saying, and I usually do. I don't know what that's about. I don't think it has anything to do with me being a nurse who's taking care of children as much as it does much of my life. I've really actively listened to other people. So if I can listen to someone for just a short while, I can pick up their speech pattern and get a pretty good idea of what in the world they're saying. So I can do that even with little kids. As a mom and a dad, you need to start developing that skill because that learning curve may take years. Some kids pick up speech really quite readily and they'll start using the words they know, and then they'll put in the connecting words. And by the time they're 2, 2.5, they're using sentences. Girls are usually more advanced than boys. And because of that, I have a niece who's really brilliant. She was very good as a child. So very quickly, she spoke very well. Her brother's not that much younger than her, a little bit more than a year younger than she. So here's what was funny. He's also really bright, but he didn't want to look stupid. So they would talk to him, talk to him, talk to him. He never talked. When he was just a little bit past 2, he started speaking. I thought his mom was going to fall down when he first started speaking. And he spoke in very full, very articulate sentences. He determined he wasn't going to speak till he wasn't going to sound stupid. That learning curve took a little different bend than some people's, but it was very legitimate. And honestly, in many ways, he's that exact same person even now in his 40s. He doesn't want to look stupid and he's not going to do it. So he's going to pay a lot of attention. He's very, very observant. And then when he can do it at a pretty high level of mastery, he will. He's not going to let you see that whole beginning process climbing up the hill. He just doesn't want you to. He's not going to show it to you. Very fascinating individual. You have to be there in the curve with your child. If you are working all the time and you spend very little time with them, suddenly you'll see them down here, but you'll have missed all of this fun and all of this processing and learning. That is the way some people go about parenting, I acknowledge. Put their child in daycare, put their child in preschool, put their child in school, basically get through the whole parenting thing without ever actually having to go through all of it with their child. And all I can say to you is, if that's your choice, okay. It's hard for me to imagine that, and I'm going to feel really sad for both you and your child because you're going to miss a lot of the fun stuff along the way. Let's be truthful. Sometimes we human beings find the greatest joy and the greatest comedy in some of those errors, some of those crazy places where things don't quite go right. And that's what that curve is about, seeing the places where they don't quite get it straight and where they make some mistakes and they struggle a bit. And if you're right there with them, being supportive and cheering them on, you have the beauty of the development of that relationship and of seeing the journey on the way from no knowledge whatsoever to complete competency. It's really very exciting to see, and it's very thrilling to be a part of that. That's what we get to do. That's the journey we get to go on as parents. So I really want to encourage you to participate in your child's life as much as you have time and energy to do in order that you can see that learning curve. I think there are a lot of things today many children don't know how to do because no one has the patience or the time to teach them. And I acknowledge to you, I really do. Teaching a kid how to cook, teaching someone how to do woodworking, teaching someone how to do sculpture or molding or how to repair a small engine, how to work with a clock, how to make lace, how to bake chocolate chip cookies, teaching someone how to make pie crust from scratch. All of those things most assuredly do take time and energy, and yet getting to be with our children, our grandchildren in that learning process on that curve where they're continuing to develop skills and the mastery of certain competencies, it's totally fun. To me, it had to be one of the most fun parts of being a parent. Watching my sons paint and I'll say sculpt with Play-Doh, develop things like a ramp that my son wanted to develop so he could jump his bike and go over a lot of different kinds of things, and learning how to develop physical skills so they could jump and do flips off of uh, a swing set and bungee jump out of a palm tree. God help us all, not the best choice, but it's one of the things they did together. Go fishing, how to put the worm on the hook, how to cast, how to use a rod and a reel. I don't even know where to begin to tell you all of the things, all of the opportunities that we have in teaching our kids so many amazing things. And all of that is participating and journeying with them along the learning curve. I don't know about you. If you've ever driven a really well handling, very fast, sleek sports car which I've done more than once, and I owned an amazing one. It's really a great ride. I mean, it is so thrilling turning those corners, and I can honestly tell you, I have not taken the wheels off the road, though I know I got pretty close a couple of times. Uh, it's just really amazing to feel those curves. And as a child, and you have someone going through those curves with you who knows how to navigate and knows how to handle it well and is pretty adept at the drive, at the process, it's a great thing going through those curves with your kids. I hope that illustration makes sense to somebody, because that really was a lot of times the way I saw it. Ride that ride, honey. Life is short. Have a good time. Learn how to laugh. Learn how to enjoy the stuff that's just simple and still a great pleasure. My question for you today is, how are the curves? Are you scared? Are you witless going around like, wow, they're going to take my life? Or are you the one in the driver's seat really enjoying the feel of that power underneath of you and the movement of the curve? Yeah, go through those learning curves with your kids where you can. It really is very fun. Have fun today. I'll see you soon. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.